Hello and welcome to Math with Mrs. Becker. Today in Algebra 2, we are going to just start with the very beginning of section 5.1, which has an introduction to what are called quadratic functions. So if we kind of think back, in chapters 2 and 3, what we were studying were called linear functions. And linear functions, this was that y equals mx plus b form. Okay, and remember y and f of x, they're interchangeable. So even though these two equations look a little bit different, they actually have the same meaning. Remember when you're studying linear functions, your variable is just a single variable. It's just a single x, meaning it has no exponents. Now what's happening is we're jumping into quadratics. Quadratics, the variable is always squared. So you could have it like this, or you could have something like x plus 2 squared, because this power of 2 would go to the x, making it have a value of x squared. So quadratics, we will always have a power of 2. A quadratic function is a function that can be written in this format. Now the cool thing is this shows you all of the transformations. Remember I told you Algebra 2 is a lot about transformations. If you have a value out front, if it's negative, it's reflecting over the x-axis. If the value that you're multiplying is bigger than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If it is less than 1, it's a vertical compression. If you're adding or subtracting inside of parentheses, meaning it's only going to the x, that means you're sliding to the left or right. If you're adding or subtracting at the end, that means you're going up or down. So sometimes this is actually called transformation form, because you can quickly see any of the transformations that occurred from the parent function, which is x squared when we're talking about quadratics. The table in the next slide shows both the linear and quadratic parent functions. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at those. Now this is what we have been working with. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, we focused on linear functions. When you graph it, it's a line. Your variable is just a single variable. Now we're going to quadratics. When you graph quadratic, you get a U-shaped graph that's called a parabola. Now in this course, when you graph quadratics, all of your parabolas will either be opening upwards or opening downwards. Okay, so at this point you won't get anything crazy, nothing sideways, diagonal, everything will open up or down. Now notice the quadratic parent function shows you that your x has a power of 2. Okay, it says, as with any other functions, you can graph quadratic functions by completing an xy table. And that's going to be our main focus today. We're going to create xy tables and go ahead and plot the ordered pairs. The main thing that you need to remember here, when you are replacing an x value into a function, you want to have it in parentheses, especially if your x has an exponent, okay? So when you're doing this, go ahead and write out exactly what it should look like in your calculator. So instead of x, we are filling in a 0. Where x is, you're putting in this value from the table, make sure it's in parentheses. Squared minus 4 times 0 plus 3. Now here's the x, so you already know the first part of your quadratic, or the first part of your ordered pair. Now here's the deal. Yes, I know this one we could do in our head, but I want to show you something really cool with these calculators. If I open a parenthesis, put in a 0 squared, minus 4, open a parenthesis, put in a 0, plus 3. Okay, that's what I just entered in the table. When you hit enter, that is your y value. So I have a point at 0, up 3. Now here's the deal. Now they want you to change your x to a 1. Well, we have all of our x values in parentheses. So what I can do, there's this up arrow. If I hit the up arrow, notice I get the cursor. I can go ahead, put the cursor on 0. I want the x value to now be a 1. Put the cursor on 0. I now want it to be a 1. Hit enter. When x is a 1, y is a 0. Now we do it again. This time, we're changing the x. Okay, we're changing the x to a 2. So if I up arrow, I'm going to go ahead and change the x's to a 2. So I just put that cursor on the 1, make them a 2. Now I get a negative 1. So when the x was a 2, the y is a negative 1. Now I go ahead and I change it to a 3. Now on your worksheet, this is exactly what you'll be doing, okay? So I do give you points to go ahead and show me exactly what you put inside the calculator. Up arrow, change the 2 to a 3. When I do that, I end up with a 0. So if I go to the right 3, I get a 0. Last but not least, if I go ahead and change the x's from a 3 to a 4, again, that change will be located within the parentheses, so it's easy to find them. Change the 3 to a 4, hit enter, and I get a 3. So if I go to the right 4, I go up 3. If I connect it, notice it is a U-shaped graph. That shape is called a parabola. This is what we're doing today, okay? Just getting really comfortable with how do you enter this into the calculator, realizing that XY tables are creating ordered pairs which give you a location in the graph. When you go ahead and graph them, make sure that you get that parabola shape, which is a U shape. Now here's an additional step. Let's say that you're kind of second guessing and you're questioning yourself. You can always check your answer by graphing the parabola on the calculator. Remember, we have that really cool site. It's called Desmos.com. You can go into Desmos.com, plug in x squared minus 4x plus 3, and just kind of compare the screens and make sure that you did end up with the correct graph. Okay, let's do another one. Now this time, there is a negative up front. Now this is one of the most common mistakes. Okay, is this negative? When you are filling in a value for x, you're only allowed to change the x. You're not allowed to change anything else. So in your calculator, you'd have the negative. Where x is, you make the change. Plus 6, where x is, you make the change. So notice the negative here has to be out front of whatever the x is. Now the first value that they want us to fill in for x is a -1. So that is the x value for the ordered pair. Let's go ahead. We have a negative out front. Then in the place of x, so that goes in parentheses, it's -1 squared. Plus 6. In the place of x, it's a -1 minus 8. So when I did that, whoa, I got -15. So I go to the left. Notice this is by 2's. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8. So if I go to the left 1, I go down 15. So -12, -14, -15 is right there. Now, same thing. The only thing that can change is what's in the parentheses. This time I want it to be just a +1. So my x value is a +1. Now the way you do this in the calculator, you up arrow, wherever there's a negative, go ahead, put the cursor and this DEL, that's going to delete it. So again, cursor, I no longer want a -1, I want a +1. The cursor's on the negative, delete it, and that was all of the x values, so I got a -3 here. If I go to the right 1, I'm going up 3. Remember, everything is labeled by 2's. Okay, let's go again. So negative, let's change all of the x values to a 3. So this time I'm going to the right 3. We want to see where we're traveling. So if I go up, here's change all of the 1's to a 3, and I get a 1. Okay, so if oh, sorry, here we go. So this should have been 1, -3, my bad. Okay, +3, +1. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and change the x's to a 5. Some of you are probably like, beggar, when I did that. Okay, so this was go to the right 1, go down 3. I got excited. Okay, let's go ahead and go up and change the 3's to a 5, and now I get a -3. So if I go to the right 5, I go down 3. Last but not least, I'm filling in a 7. So 7 is the x value. To find the y value, go up into the calculator, change all of the 5's to 7's. I get -15. So if I go to the right 7, I go down 15, connect them. Again, we did get a U-shaped graph. This U-shaped graph is called a parabola, and this is what you should get as soon as your x has a power of 2. Okay, so complete the table, graph the ordered pairs. Then again, you can feel free to go ahead onto Desmos.com. Make sure that your parabola ended up in the same location. It's the same shape. Okay, now what you're doing today for your assignment for the first part, okay, you are just going to go ahead and do 3 of these on your own. Please make sure that you complete the table. Okay, this is worth points. I want to see exactly what you put into the calculator. Then go ahead and tell me the ordered pairs. The ordered pairs give you the location for the coordinates on the graph. These are the x values, so you already know half of it. When you fill this into the calculator, it gives you the y value, okay? So you're going to complete the table, plot the ordered pairs, connect the points because you are making that parabola shape. So you just have 3 of those to do for 5-1, part 1. Hope you guys had a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.